It seems that No Man's Sky has had its fair share of influence on the industry and particular types of games that at one point hoped to land within its genre-bending, controversial title that's going on its 5-year anniversary coming up in August. And developers of Jett, The Far Shore, upcoming PlayStation exclusive, also going to PC, shared what some of that influence was from No Man's Sky that inevitably had them change their path just a little bit. All of that and more here in the LZ. So, fellow travelers, welcome back to the LZ again. So good to have you back, and today I want to talk about something that is not quite so No Man's Sky, but definitely related. I, like some of you, was most recently introduced to the game called Jett, The Far Shore. Yet another spacefaring type of game with a small development team that's been in development for some time now. And today I found a Games Radar article that's titled How Jett the Far Shore Was Originally More Like No Man's Sky, revealing how the PS5 game underwent a rethink after Hello Games' revealed their spacefaring simulator. I'll link the article in the description below for the full context, but I'll give you sort of what my summation is. And that reads as follows. When describing the game's development, Craig D. Adams, one half of the team working on Jett, explained what they originally conceived the game as. Here's a 2-person team doing a video game of large, seeming scope that relies on procedural world generation, because we had a bunch of that in there. And then, bless them, Hello Games pitched up with something that just sucked all of the oxygen out of the room. Of course, that something was No Man's Sky, the open universe explorathon that endured a rocky launch to become one of the most prominent indies in recent years. Adams went on to say, we couldn't exactly walk in after that and say, hey, check it out, here's another spacefaring video game where you can get in and out of your ship and there's procedural content. Instead, the development team turned their focus on the elements of Jett that were more distinctive, namely its characters and narrative. The thinking behind this, as Adam explains, we had this fear if you ship something that's just a Jett and ecosystems, how many people would you lose who need a character and a story and a soul to put them in? So not that I want to read too far into that article and of course those direct quotes by the developer there, but Jett would not be the first game in this type of genre that has tried to either distance itself from being too No Man's Sky-like, or that has worried about being affected by the sort of torrential and turbulent launch that was No Man's Sky in 2016. Speaking of 2016, I did a video about just this topic alone where just shortly after the launch of No Man's Sky, developers of other games that were sort of in that orbit, namely games like Dual Universe and Astroneer, were really worried about the, at the time, negative reception of No Man's Sky really harshing their vibe, and potentially the real likelihood that No Man's Sky's terrible launch would affect their game as well. So I've put that in the cards at the top and of course at the end of the video for your viewing pleasure. Now I don't want to say that that's exactly why this studio decided to change gears and how they focused it. Although if I were a studio that were making a game a little bit like No Man's Sky at that time, I would have definitely had my doubts as well. Now, of course, since Jett the Far Shore is pretty new to many of us, I kind of wanted to look in to see exactly what this game is, and directly from their website, Jett the Far Shore is fixing to deploy to PlayStation and PC this year, and it invites you on an interstellar trip to carve out a future for a people haunted by oblivion in this cinematic action adventure. As Scout and Anchorite may be the first to deploy to a mythic ocean planet, take the helm of a Jett and explore a vast unknown, skim low over waves, roar up pristine coastlines, and carve through otherworldly woods. Adapt to an intricate, systemic open world to persevere through adversity alongside an intimate ensemble cast in this story of courage, wonder, and regret. So I really dig the premise, and honestly, this really is my kind of content offering, right? I'm really, if you know me, I really enjoy movies like Interstellar, which kind of really has the same vibe to it, right? Humanity is trying to escape Earth, trying to find a better place to live, and goes through some harrowing tales and heroic journey to fulfill that kind of destiny. But speaking aside from the game's premise, it actually looks really fun. It looks really cool. I particularly really love that sort of really far back pull back from the sort of this camera angle super far away from your ship that allows you to enjoy this really wide, sprawling view of the land that you're navigating through. If the game is really just that, I kind of already want to buy it. So, of course, Jett the Far Shore is definitely on my radar this year. Definitely going to take a look at that one. Possibly even review it for the channel if I can get a hold of a copy. So I want to hear from you in the comments. Should developers like this and other developers in this particular genre space be afraid of making a No Man's Sky-like game, whether it's because of the bad launch of No Man's Sky or sort of No Man's Sky now that it's 5 years later and doing spectacularly well, taking up too much space in the genre? And of course, if this video was informational for you in your No Man's Sky and indie galactic explorer experience, leave a like on the channel, and of course, stick around for future videos coming up. See you next time.